Hi there, this is Megan Fielder from Algebra Elevated, and today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about why and how I use tables in my PowerPoint presentations to create worksheets for my students in my classroom. So first off, a little bit behind why. So I strongly feel that once you get going creating resources for your own classroom, it's super important that they're versatile and you can start with a template or you can start with an old resource and adapt it to whatever you're trying to make next. Now, in order for you to do that, spacing is often a problem for many teachers, but a lot of times for math teachers when they're creating problems. Sometimes graphs or clip art or tables might take up a lot of room versus if you're just trying to have students solve an equation, it might take up less room on your paper. What I found is that with tables, it is super easy to add and remove some of that spacing issues or make those adjustments while working off an old activity or an assignment so you don't have to start everything from scratch. So today I'm going to help you walk through how to start from scratch a PowerPoint document and turn it into a beautiful assignment using tables. I will start from the beginning, including how to put the name, the title, all that stuff on there. If that's something you already got covered, feel free to skip ahead to the video where I start talking about using the tables to your advantage. Let's check it out. So here we have a blank PowerPoint presentation. Just for reference, I am working on a MacBook computer, so things may be in a little bit different place if you're working on a PC, but it is all there, I can promise you that. So the first thing I have to do is this is set up to make a presentation. Well, I don't want to have a presentation. I need this to be more printable, so I want it to be an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. First thing, I'm going to get rid of whatever's on the screen. So I'm going to do Control A, and then I delete that, or Command A, truly, for a Mac. Then I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to go to Page Setup, and I'm going to change it so that it's a letter piece of paper. Now, if you do notice that there is a preset for letter paper, but that puts it at 10.5 by 7.5. We all know that a letter paper is 8.5 by 11. I found that either way I do it doesn't make a difference, but I just feel more comfortable having that true size. I think what PowerPoint does is that when you print it, it kind of zooms it a little bit from that 7.5 by 10. So I'm going to do that. It's always going to ask if I want to scale my content. Obviously, there's nothing there. There's nothing to scale. So I just hit enter. It scales it up. But again, it's nothing. Now what you'll notice is that my paper is still landscape. So if I want to make it portrait, what I need to do is I can either go here, or you would know that that's truly 8.5 wide by 11 high. So I hit OK. Again, same thing. Not going to do anything. Okay, now I have a page for my students, but I want to include the name, date, period, or hour at the top. So you can do insert and then text box, or you can just double click. And so then I'm going to type in my name, make a line, date, make a line, hour, make a line. Now, one thing that I've gotten used to is I will extend these text boxes from left to right, and then when I go to center, I don't have to center the text box, it just centers the text in the box, and then I know that's going from edge to edge. That's kind of a little trick that I enjoy using. So I'm going to change my font to what my kids are used to. It does not need to be 18 point. It looks small on the PowerPoint because we're zoomed out so far so we can see the whole page. I highly recommend that you print your resource before giving it to your students for many reasons, but one being that you'll find that it can be really deceiving. It looks really crowded on your screen, and then you print it out and the problems are way too big. You can get a lot more on there. So I am going to move that up, but I'm going to center left adjust that. I like that better. Okay, next I want a title. So I can insert a text box or double click. I'm going to say solving one-step equations. We're going to go real basic for this one. Solving one-step equations. Again, I could center that box, or I really like to just drag the whole thing, and then I center the text. What I found is then if I make a different worksheet with a longer title or shorter title, I don't have to make any adjustments. I just retype whatever I would want to retype it to. Again, I'm going to change this. I like to use that font every once in a while. I am going to make that kind of large because it's a title. Now, one thing I like to do, which is more of a design element, is I like to add a kind of background to that title. And so I will put a solid bar there, and I'll send that to the back so that my title's on top. And you'll notice I have it floating off the edge. And that's so that when I print it, it is truly edge to edge. You'll notice when you print that you have some extra margins, so it won't go all the way across, but then I don't have to worry about centering it or anything here. And I like to make my text white, and so then I can go here, change it to white, and then this outside border, we don't need it to be colored because most teachers are printing on a black and white printer anyway. So I fill that in with black, and then I could make my outline black, or I usually just select no outline. From there, I need to make my directions text box. So I actually am going to take my name text box and I'm going to duplicate it. So in PowerPoint, that's a really cool feature. You can do Control D or Command D, and it will duplicate whatever you selected. I don't think that's available in Word. And then I'm going to type directions for each equation below, solve for the variable. Show all work and circle your final answer. Okay, simple directions. Maybe I'll bold that. I use Control B on my keyboard to do that. So now what I'm going to do is finally get to the tables. So if you've been following along and you already knew all this stuff, that's great. And so now here is my favorite part. So let's say that I think I just want 2 equations and then 5 going down. So 2 by 5 is what I'll need. This is going to be your standard table. There is a way to make some presets. I personally never have gotten into that. I just go ahead with these. What happens is this is automatically set for white and bolded text, where this text down here is black traditional text. So what I do is I go through a couple steps before I even start recentering my table. So I highlight the whole table. I change the text or the font to whatever I want. So Century Schoolbook is my favorite. And then I usually go down to 12 or 14 font. Then I come over here and I just select black font. So it automatically changes everything to black. And then I have to unselect bold as well. So I bold everything and then I undo that. Obviously you could do this step by step later. I like to just do it ahead of time so I don't have to worry about it. Next, I go to my table design, and I want to get rid of this blue. So I make my shading no fill, and then I put borders in, at least for now. Now I might take them off. We'll get to that in a minute. You can also make your borders thicker by you would do that, and then reselect borders. I kind of like the traditional border style better. So now I have this all set up the way I want. Now I'm going to resize it. So I'm going to drag it so that it fills my entire paper. So I leave a little bit border all the way around, but pretty close. If I want to ensure that it's centered left to right, I can go to arrange here, and I can go to align, and I can do center, and it scooched it over a little bit. I can't center it vertically because of those directions at the top. So I could do that on a second page, but I can't do that on this first page. Now I get to start entering in my problems. So I would type in my equation. Maybe I use the equation editor. So I want them to solve 4x plus 2 equals 12. Maybe that's my first equation. And then they'd show their work in that box. Now to make my next ones, I actually copy it over to the other column, and then I copy and paste those throughout each. So I like to have one to work off of, and then I just change the number and go through and change the questions each time, but then it's kind of already set up for me from there. Now here's why I like tables. So say I'm doing this and I'm like, oh, this is a lot of space for them to work on. They don't need this much space. What I can do is I can right click or go up to table design, or no, it's layout. There it is. But I like to right click and I go insert column to the right. I didn't have to move anything. All I did was select that button and automatically I have a whole new column. Oops, that's another trick in a second. I have a whole new column that I can insert the problems into. And then what just happened, I'll tell you now, is that I can copy and paste these two again, and then if I copy and paste them, it'll make two more. So look at that. My spacing is all set up. I didn't have to move these all around. Everything is lined up perfectly because it's stuck in these boxes. The same goes for the bottom of my table. Now this is going to look a little weird first, but I go insert and I say rows below. And what happens is it actually falls underneath my table. But what you can do is you can drag this up and then it automatically resizes everything for you here. And then if you're triple check that it's resized, under layout, there's this button called distribute rows and distribute columns. I can click that and that'll make sure that they're all the same size. Like say one accidentally got dragged over there. I go up here, I say distribute columns, and that means it evenly spaces them. So, say you don't like the table look, which I get it, it's not perfect for everybody's classroom. What you do is just take those borders off and just say no border, and your spacing is still preserved, it's awesome, it's ready to go. I've seen so many teachers that will just type in each of these boxes in different text boxes, and then they're trying to line them up, or they use the align tool, which is great to align them left, but then you add one problem and it throws your entire worksheet off. And you can still add these extra problems wherever you want on top of a table. Now say I'm undoing. I want to bring that table back, okay? Say I want a big problem over these two tables. You can either put it on top or you can always merge your cells and then you can have one bigger problem here while still keeping everything else the same. Now the last reason I love this is because most of my worksheets, I'm going to be honest, they're two-sided. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to duplicate the entire slide because most likely I want a similar layout on the next page. But I don't need the name, the title, the directions on the next page. So I hold down Control or Command on my Mac and I highlight all of them and then I delete them. And I gotta delete my box. But then I want more problems. I can just extend my table and it resizes them. And then if I even wanted to add a whole nother row, I could have done Insert, Row Above, and then, oh, it still wants me to move it. But I can redo that. And then I can recenter it. So align, center, align. I can even do middle because there's no directions. Now it's perfectly in the center of my screen. So hopefully something in there has sparked some ideas for you about how you can use tables to create worksheets for your own classroom. Again, just take those borders off and to the naked eye, it doesn't even look like a table. It just looks like you spaced everything out amazingly. So in the end, hopefully you found something in that video helpful, whether it was setting up your worksheet from scratch or learning how to use tables to your advantage when creating worksheets for your classroom. If you have any questions about how to do this or tips and tricks for creating these types of worksheets, please let me know. I make worksheets for my classroom all the time. I sell them on Teachers Pay Teachers at Algebra Elevated. And head on over there, get some inspiration. Message me on Instagram if you need anything or leave a comment below. I'd love to help you out with your own worksheets. Like and subscribe for my channel for more tips like these, and I'll talk to you soon.